There's breaking news that's coming in from New York in the United States of America. There's been a blast and a building collapse in the East Holland area of New York City. These are the latest pictures that we're getting to you of that blast. Reports indicating a blast and a building collapse. Let's listen in to the ground situation in New York. And headlines today, Sanjana Chauhan now joins me with the latest. Sanjana, an explosion and a building collapse. Tell us what happened. What are police officers saying on ground?
Currently, the information that we're getting right now is there has been an explosion and a building collapse. This has taken part in East Harlem of Manhattan City, which is on, in fact, the Upper East Side. And the Harlem building explosion has, in fact, been reported. Now, we understand that the area of Harlem and Bronx, it is, in fact, hit by a lot of fires, a lot of explosions, merely because of bad maintenance, bad building repair. But right now, they're still trying to ascertain the cause. The explosion happened at a building on 116th Street and Park just after 9:30 a.m. According to officials, a 3-alarm fire is still raging atop the building. There are reports that people are trapped after part of the building collapsed. Now, it is unclear what caused the explosion at this time, but Con Ed, which is in fact, the agency there, was requested on rush for a gas leak. Officials are requesting the Metro North be shut down at this point of time. Remember, this is on the Upper West Side, which is this is on the Upper East Side, but is also very close to Columbia University, that is in fact on the Upper West Side. So definitely will be a problem. And we understand that Harlem is a place where there are several explosions, several fires that are reported. We know that one person has been reported injured. It is not clear what the cause of the reported explosion was or whether there have been any other injuries. Now, it is understood that debris on the nearby train tracks has also caused the halt of some services in the area. Back to you, Gaurav.
Okay, so this is in East Harlem. This is an explosion and a building collapse. Do we know how big was this building? Do we know how many people are still feared trapped? And whether this is poor maintenance, whether this is a gas leak that led to this explosion, or is there a terror angle to it, or is it too soon to say?
Pertinent questions there, but right now it is unclear what started the explosion. What we do know that the explosion was reported at this East Harlem building, but the structural integrity of the building may have been compromised is definitely one of the reports. We understand that is a major problem that in fact takes place in Manhattan, in East Harlem, in Harlem in general, and in the Bronx, where structural integrities of the building or bad maintenance causes problems like gas leaks. But there are reports that people are trapped after part of the building has collapsed. It is unclear what has caused the explosion at this time. So definitely authorities are saying that it might be the structure of the building. These buildings are old, they're not maintained well. It is definitely an area in New York City which is more or less a very, very low income neighborhood. So maintenance is definitely a problem, but we do know that the gas company Con Ed has been requested on rush for a gas leak. So it may just be the cause of the fire. Now, officials are requesting the metro station be shut down at this point of time because one person has been reported injured. We don't know how many people are trapped, but these visuals that you see on your screen are in fact of this gas leak, this supposed gas leak, this explosion that has taken place in New York. Now, according to local news channels, witnesses in fact reported seeing a partial roof collapse. Now, what is actually the problem that takes place in Manhattan, in these neighborhoods of Harlem, of the Bronx, is that the structural integrity of the building is often compromised merely because the buildings are very old, there is no maintenance, it is a low-poverty neighborhood, and hence this explosion may have been caused because of a gas leak.
Okay, could this be a maintenance issue as initial reports seem to indicate? Is there another angle to it? Headlines Today's Deputy Editor Shiv Aroor joins me with the latest on this. Shiv, what have you been able to get? What are news reports from America saying?
Well, the news just coming in, Gaurav, we can confirm that 4 people have been injured in what appears to be an accident. The New York Fire Department officially calling it a building collapse with a fire. They say the incident, like Sanjana was just pointing out, was on the 114th Street, not 116th Street, as some initial reports had apparently suggested. But there was a huge explosion in this area. This is Harlem. A large number of emergency services are currently on this on the scene right now. There are helicopters apparently overhead. Several Harlem buildings have apparently been damaged in this blast. There's debris piled up in a lot of places. The New York Fire Department continues to call it a building collapse with a fire. No updates beyond the fact, Gaurav, that there are 4 people who are possibly injured. No news just yet on possible casualties or fatalities. The building is currently still on fire. As you can see in these pictures, there's a huge amount of smoke which is affecting the operations, smoke billowing from the roof. People in the area have apparently reported a massive explosion as well. Online, people are posting pictures of a very dramatic nature, and they seem to suggest, as we can see in these pictures, that a huge amount of smoke is still billowing from the scene on the metro line. Remember, this happened at 9 in the morning, so there were people commuting from Harlem to other parts of New York City. They've been taking pictures, they've been posting them on social media as well. At this point of time, there is smoke visible from many parts of Manhattan. The Manhattan skyline, apparently you can see the smoke even as we speak. Many people continuing to share pictures. Emergency services from several different departments currently on the scene, trying to find out precisely what the nature of it is. But the first response, as always, as far as the Fire Department of New York, is to ensure that people in that building are safe, and then to assess the damage, Gaurav, and then to find out what the cause of the actual fire or this explosion was. As is normal in such a situation, nothing is being ruled out. Was it an accident? Was the fire caused by something else? Was there something malified involved? All of those possibilities will be weighed once the investigation actually starts. But at this point of time, it's a first emergency response by the fire department of New York City. Okay, there was a gas leak and then there was a blast. There was a gas leak and then a blast and then a collapse, a partial collapse of this particular building. Sanjana Chauhan is still with me. Sanjana, a gas leak, then a fire, then a blast, and the blast was obviously intense enough to cause a partial collapse of this building. So we're talking about the piped gas. That's obviously a part of the infrastructure of many of these old buildings, perhaps.
Right, Shiv, exactly. As we have in fact been reporting, the Con Ed, which is the gas company, was notified of a gas leak earlier in the day, and that seems to be, though it's not been ascertained yet, but that seems to be the cause. Now, as we were in fact reporting even earlier, the structural integrity of the building is in fact been questioned. We do know that this seems to be a recurring problem that takes place in the Harlem and Bronx neighborhoods of Manhattan. Now we do know that the FDNY has said that there has been an explosion and a partial collapse of this building in East Harlem. It happened at around 9 a.m. at a building on Park Avenue, which is on the Upper East Side between 114th and 117th Streets. Now, we do also know that the bomb squad is responding, but only as a precaution. But so far, there are reports of confirmed 4 injuries, but there are more reports coming in of 11 minor injuries. We still don't have numbers of how many people are trapped inside, but we definitely can say for sure that Con Ed was in fact called for a gas leak, and witnesses in fact tweeting right now, reports emerging on the internet talking about how the building shook, and then they looked to see what was happening and saw a whole lot of smoke. A lot of smoke came coming, billowing out of the building, as we can even see on our screens right now. And then the partial, the building, the partial part of the roof in fact collapsed.
Stay with me, Sanjana. I want to go across to J.S. Bedi, journalist based in Chicago. Mr. Bedi, what can you tell us about the current situation? We understand that there was a gas leak and then a blast, which was obviously violent enough to cause a partial collapse of this particular building in Harlem.
Yes, this explosion took place at Park Avenue. One of the buildings got exploded.
Yes.
It brought down another building next door, and there was a big chaos in the area. Nobody knew what happened. This happened at 1:16 at night, and then there is all the emergency crews and ambulances rush towards the area. There are 12 ambulances which are already standby, and more security and military forces are around. Like you have just said, there are 11 minor injuries reported, but hospitals have indicated that more injured people are on the way. They haven't given any number.
Yes.
We see lot of smoke coming and wind is drifting them here and there, and we see no activity nearby since all the areas have been cordoned off by the police.
This is likely to be very alarming, Mr. Bedi, for a place like New York, which has seen so much, a few years ago. And obviously, that has taught the city's emergency response services to treat everything as quickly as possible. That's why we're seeing such a rapid reaction to what has happened.
You are absolutely right. There is a big scare as to what could be the reason, although nothing has been reported. But
Yes.
the situation in the country and world over is such that people always doubt some nefarious activity. There is no, in these buildings, there is no provision of storing the gas like these explosions are taking place. So one can always see that what could be the explosion about. And nobody has confirmed that it was a gas explosion. The explosion has been confirmed.
Yes.
And it was so huge and so rocking that it shook all the neighborhood buildings.
Well, that's the information that we have as well. Stay with me, J.S. Bedi from Chicago. We're getting information in, like J.S. Bedi has just confirmed to us from the United States, that apart from the building itself where the explosion took place, surrounding buildings have already apparently sustained a certain amount of damage. Now, the extent of the damage will be assessed at a later time. But as you can see in these dramatic pictures, apart from the enormous amounts of smoke billowing out of that building from where the explosion is understood to have taken place, there is a crane. There are 12 fire engines and ambulances on standby. 4 people have apparently been injured. The nature of the injuries is not known at this time. We're awaiting clarity on that. No information just yet on casualties. Let's hope there are no casualties. But as we speak, apart from the operation to actually put out the fire, if any, and also to try and get to the root of where that smoke is coming from so that operations can continue more seamlessly, there is also an effort to evacuate the building. These are buildings in Harlem, which are known to be populated by a lot of people, and therefore an operation is parallelly in progress to evacuate all of these buildings and make sure that people get out, because there could be attendant damage from inhalation of these gases that have resulted from this enormous explosion. Almost unanimously, the word on Twitter, on Facebook, people posting pictures, commuters going from Harlem to New York City and the Central Business District, basically saying that this was an enormous explosion that many of them actually heard. They're able to see the smoke from where they're standing, from metro lines and from bridges. And they say they're still awaiting clarity on what really happened, enough to scare a lot of people in New York City, which has had its share of incidents of this kind since 2001. Emergency response services, I beg your pardon, in their plenitude already deployed on site to make sure A, the fire is put out, B, that the damages assessed in the buildings are fully evacuated, to make sure that the number of injured is kept down to an absolute minimum. J.S. Bedi is still with us live from Chicago. Mr. Bedi, any further information that you're getting from any of the emergency about the nature of this incident?
Currently, they have just rail services in the area because the building debris is on the rail tracks which were passing nearby. And in fact, 3 buildings are down. Earlier it was reported that the building is being evacuated and all that. The neighborhood, 3 buildings are down, and 1 building in the middle is standing upright. At the same time, the area is not yet cleared, and the services are all around surrounding it, and no information has been given as to what could be the reason.
Okay, also Mr. Bedi, given the layout of New York City, if you could just, help our viewers understand precisely where Harlem is, what sort of buildings are there in that area. We understand that it's a pretty populated part of town.
This happened on the Park Avenue, which is a very upscale area of Manhattan.
Yes.
Now, New York is supposed to be or considered to be the city of skyscrapers.
Yes.
But in this particular area where the explosion took place is not the high-rise buildings or the skyscrapers. It was on the outskirts kind of area where, of course, there are multi-story buildings, but they are not high-rise buildings 70 to 80 story high. And these are kind of very thickly populated apartment areas where a lot of people are there. The railway lines are passing nearby, and it is a trend to take the houses closer to the station. So it was a very thickly populated area.
All right, J.S. Bedi, thanks very much for joining us on this story. We're going to continue to track it very, very closely. These are live pictures coming in from New York City of the building collapse itself. As you can see, authorities responded Wednesday to this building collapse after what appears to have been a gas-ignited blast and a 4-alarm fire, according to the New York Fire Department, which is still on site. Continue to track this story on our ticker as well, and we will continue to bring you the very latest updates as soon as they come in from New York. 4 people injured, no word on casualties. The very latest up ahead on Headlines Today.